Hey everyone, welcome to Smash Trivia. I'm your host, Smash Trivia John. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram by searching Smash Trivia to follow everything happening with me. I'll be the one with the big old green head in the profile picture. So excited to get into this. This is the Gamma Analysis. Basically, in this series, I'm going to review everything Hulk, all the movies, TV shows, and I also do random other geeky films. Occasionally, not so geeky ones too. And I also like to mix things up once in a while by not reviewing anything. Hope you enjoy Smash Trivia Presents The Gamma Analysis. I want to ask everyone listening, if they can, please do sign for me. Please share the hell of this podcast with all your friends. If you don't, Hulk will be angry. Now that we have all that important stuff out of the way, let's smash right into this episode. Hello, my Gamma friends. Today I'm joined by Keith. Keith, how you doing, Keith?
I'm doing good, John. How you doing?
Doing good, Keith. And we're gonna review the Killer Instinct episode of the '70s Hulk. Uh, this episode, this was a really interesting one. We had it was about David working at the Los Angeles Coliseum. I believe is what it said in the episode.
Yeah.
Which
And what's his job as a ankle wrapper? Is that what
yeah,
you
that's what they
said?
said. That's what they said on the on IMDb. Um, which is interesting because they do actually give him a title in the episode. It is not ankle wrapper. It is,
Is it assistant trainer?
yeah.
Yeah, okay, I thought so because I was like, he's not an assistant coach. He's willing. He's able. He's not like just a water boy or anything either. That he's giving these
Like,
guys advice. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
ankle wrapper are like weird job title, but to me that sounds like it would imply that he would be like the medical person for like if someone's injured on the field, which is definitely not what he is in the episode.
I'm wondering, like, these different jobs that he gets or falls into that require certain credentials, like first aid training. Even he has first aid training. Obviously, he's a
Yeah.
doctor, but like, is he just kind of everything's being paid under the table, and he's just saying, "Oh, don't worry, I clearly have first aid training. Look at me fix up this guy's ankle," and then they're like, "You're hired." Like, he just keeps getting these jobs that you would think require a little bit more background check.
I would think, particularly in a situation like this, they would not be willing to do something like that because us being the Los Angeles Coliseum, I'm guessing, though they didn't say it particularly in the episode because it's okay, I'm guessing because of copyright, but I'm assuming it's supposed to be an NFL team, and I feel like something as famous as the NFL, they are not going to take any chances at doing something illegal like paying someone under the table.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I did not expect to enjoy this episode because it is about football, and I could give two shits, maybe two and a half most, about football. And I like a good
Yeah, I
halftime
can
show.
understand that. I watched a lot of football as a kid,
Yeah.
not out of wanting to,
Oh,
but because
yeah.
my dad forced us to. My dad had the idea that if NFL football was on, that meant it was his night with the TV, and nobody
Yeah.
got a choice, and always didn't matter.
Yeah.
So every Sunday and Monday we had to be watching that, and it was boring as hell.
Remember when people had only one screen in the home
Hmm?
and only one thing could be watched at a time? That's insane. You're probably one of the last generations that's going to experience that, you know?
Like even when I was a kid, I always heard about other people's families having multiple TVs. I would always see it in movies that they would have multiple TVs, and I was like, it's weird that we seem to be the only people where we only have one TV, so we have to have to watch that. Watch what Dad wants to watch.
Yeah, because he bought the TV.
It was particularly annoying when someone's birthday ended up being on a Sunday or Monday, because even if it was your birthday, nope, you still have to watch football. Great.
Jeez, ridiculous. But this episode started popping off for me right about when it started going into things like anger management and father-son relationships and like good and bad therapy practices. This became my jam really fast. So I really liked the actor playing Toby. I thought he was doing such an exaggerated, crazy job as just like a one episode guy. But he was just the point where he's doing hypnosis sessions and the inner child is supposed to be coming out and throwing tantrums. That's not an easy thing to pull off for anybody. But I think he did, for a show in the 70s, that was a pretty good portrayal of that. I enjoyed it. What do you think?
I thought the episode was pretty good. It's definitely not one of my favorite episodes, but I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was some interesting ideas with the episode. Sadly, this one and I mentioned this to you before we were recording. I didn't have a lot of thoughts when it came for this episode. It was it was just like, okay, this is there. It's like I'm like everything's good and it's just there's nothing like there wasn't a lot that stood out to me. I did really like the first Hulk out in the episode where he's in that steam room. I thought that was really cool, and it makes me wonder if when they did basically that exact same thing in the 2008 Hulk film, were they trying to reference this?
Oh, maybe. Like that has to stand out as one of the cooler, like with every episode, there's always a formula going on. Like, okay, he hulks out, like he has to hulk out within the first half hour, and we have to show you something different than we've ever shown you before. So him smashing through the sauna door and then grabbing the two guys on the other side and lifting all of it and walking forward was awesome. So I don't think that stands out as possibly one of my top things that he's done while hulked. That was very fun.
The second Hulk out, though it was fun seeing him going on the field. I do not see how repeatedly slamming this guy who has clear mental health issues, who's onto the ground repeatedly, is going to fix them. But somehow it did.
Well, I took it more as like, because I didn't see him slamming him so much as just kind of taking the punches, showing that it's not doing anything. You've bet your match, sir. You're not going to come through me. And then pushing him down until he's just kind of tuckered, like he's just accepted it. Like, you have to accept that I'm not moving. I'm too big. Which was kind of like him, because he can't face his father. That was the whole thing too, is he can't face his father about the conflict he has over finding out that his father was a cheater. So in a way, because the guy is so big naturally, the Hulk is obviously bigger, so it brings him back to that time when he was a kid and someone was actually larger than him, and he's kind of facing his father and getting his anger out. But that was, again, a 1970s monster
portrayal of the mental health. It's like, it's not exactly how that works.
Yeah, exactly. We got to wrap this up. He's got to be cured by 9, guys. He's got to be cured quick. Let's go.
I was like, as I mentioned in the last episode, I think particularly with a lot of these 70s Hulk episodes, they would do so much better if they could have more time. I think this one is another one where more time could really help flesh these concepts out and and make it so it makes more sense than having him seemingly cured at the end of the episode.
Yeah. It makes me want to actually, every time we come across a message from an episode that doesn't maybe get handled as well in a 40-minute thing, it makes me want to think of or write down like 2 or 3 movies that have dealt with the same topic, but in a much more thorough and just more effective way. None are coming to mind right this second about angry relationships with cheating fathers, but I'm sure I could come up with some within a week.
Probably there's probably tons of examples. There's probably even examples within Marvel.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh yeah.
What did you think of the fact that he, in the second Hulk out, he's in the stadium's drunk tank type of thing, and those other guys are I'm thinking he's like feet away from these other fans that have been thrown in there, and they're listening to the game on the radio, and then they're all slamming on the table, and like all their attention is staring at a radio that they can only understand what's happening in the game by listening, and they're all slamming and yelling, and it's like, what are you getting out of this, guys? But it just was a way so that they wouldn't see David transform. So I was like, okay, I get why this is happening, but what the fuck? How are you supposed to watch the game when you can't hear it?
I was thinking this was a particular moment where David should have been particularly trying to get the Hulk to come out. And I think a really great way to do that, and quicker than what happened, is for him to go over to the table, grab their radio, and smash it on the floor. Or to get them angry at him, and then and so they try and fight him. And I think would make for a great way to get him to turn into Hulk quickly.
Or just like go over to a chair or a table or even just a wall and stub your toe, or or ram your shin into something. Everyone knows that fucking hurts the worst. But my favorite was the fact that the guys in the drunk tank, these are TV drunks. One guy had a shirt with a glass of beer on it, just so you would know that he was supposed to be a drunk. In case it wasn't clear that he was already in the holding cell. Yeah, it's too funny.
Well, at the very end, we see Hulk breaking through pieces of wood. I'm assuming under where the fans were sitting.
Oh yeah. The bleachers. He's just running through a bunch.
I wonder what the point of those were, because are like the not as like for. Because obviously it was the show cool thing of Hulk breaking through them, but I mean, like, particularly for the stadium, what those were for, or I think there's is the only thing I could think of is something that I think would have been really cool if they tried doing, but it would be very pricey. I see, but obviously, going because of the budget, have it that those are support beams, and have that as Hulk's coming out, he is making the stadium slowly come down behind him, and people have to start running out. I think that would have been really cool.
That would be pretty awesome. just mass destruction. As long as nobody gets hurt, because he can't have like a death toll on his hands. Like, that stadium that collapsed, that undoes all the good that the Green Monster has been doing across the country. Remember those people died?
I feel like they would have to do it in a way where it was like slow enough that people could actually get out in time. But they just are feeling like shaking underneath them to get them to start moving, and once everyone gets out the stadium just as collapses, I think it would have been really funny. I couldn't think of any other thing of what those wooden pieces would have been for. And
I guarantee you, the director or maybe the location scout was looking around a stadium, and they said, "Okay, where could we have something hulky happen?" And then they just looked at how there were no wooden bars, no wooden beams underneath the bleachers, and they're like, "How long would it take you guys to get these wooden beams here?" They're like, "No problem at all, sir. We can have Lou Ferrigno run through how thick a beam? We'll ask him. Let's see what Lou can do." And They just add beams for him to crash
Well,
through. I love that idea. If they
no.
were support beams, it would make a lot more fucking sense. But
Yeah, and I think it would make for a really great ending for the episode.
just behind him, it crashes down.
Yeah, slowly as he's
Yeah.
moving, and you just see it far in the distance, bits start falling over.
And just cut over to Toby, like looking back and then just like laughing to himself and giving Hulk the thumbs up and then freeze frame.
Oh man. Oh.
I love
I
the focus on that doctor, that hypnosis guy, basically
mhm.
having a critical talk about his methods. And even though it was some pretty cheesy acting, but like David confronting him, it was pretty awesome. About how, you're just doing this for the money. When's your grant running out or whatever, and putting real people in harm's way, and that is a true thing. I'm not talking about specifically hypnosis. Like I don't know how much I believe in the good or bad of hypnosis, but just the idea that there's certain practices with psychology and mental health that can push a person further, that in a direction that they don't want to go, and doctors completely being blind to that because they're looking for their own success stories or their own book deal or something. It's just that has happened
Oh yeah.
thousands of times, if not millions. Yeah. It's a
People
cool critical look at that for a change.
people care so much more about just making a profit than the human lives that really matter.
Yeah.
I think things like that are particularly the case, sadly, in the United States because of the fact that unlike most other countries, we don't have free healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
making it so
The doctors you
there
are
are
seeing have
doctors.
that much more profit.
Yeah, they have this want to have a profit out of it, which I now I don't know exactly how doctors are being paid in other countries, but I imagine it is just by I just they're paid a set amount, and you don't and they don't then have any kind of worry of like, oh, I should do this more expensive surgery so that I make more money or something. And
Yeah, exactly. There's no like, what's the word? Not malpractice, but ulterior motive to
mhm.
do things that aren't necessary for someone. Yeah.
So,
100%. There's definitely there's a way to do it that has them all getting the money that they feel they're
mhm.
owed, as well as having nothing but the thing is the better the reputation a doctor has is what makes them more money here,
Mhm.
for in Canada anyway. So the more patients they'll have, the more they can charge, blah blah blah. But if you don't have that great reputation, then you're not going to have anybody referred to you by their family doctors. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You're not going to suggest a surgery that someone does not need I just make yourself a bit more money, and then
Mm-hmm.
I because as you're because for someone like yeah you're that's gonna lower your reputation because that could if because there's a chance that could have a negative effect on someone.
Yeah, people are more protected against malpractice, I think, in general, in more
Uh,
other countries.
and like in America, this is something that I learned about from an episode of. Have you ever heard of the show Adam Ruins Everything?
That sounds familiar, but maybe not.
It's a show that was on True TV, the same network as Impractical Joker.
Oh,
Basically,
okay.
about this guy who teaches people in this comedic way about a lot of things that people don't know. And he did an episode about
Oh yeah.
hospitals, and he talked about how they all have a big black book or sign where they give where that gives them these dumb prices that they're allowed to charge people for things. It's at least in America where something that it'll cost them like a couple $100 might be they would end up charging people $30,000 for it.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. The saying and the I have a lot of respect for doctors, but it is insane that there's and that how much people are taking advantage of because they can.
Yeah, it's a scary world when that's the whole oath that a doctor takes is to help people. So it's just a shame that that can be pushed in the wrong direction.
I remember an episode of Lost where they had the it was one of the early episodes, and they had there was one guy who had was able to help people with their if they're injured, and he had all the medication, and like they really made a point to be like this guy wanted to charge everyone, but everyone was also like, that's kind of fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
That you're doing this.
Yeah, Sawyer came from a very dog eat dog world perspective for the first couple seasons, especially. Yeah,
it's sad that we've got into this place in the United States where they don't see that is kind of messed up, that we have to just pay all this money for this, and don't believe that medical stuff should just be like being healthy should just be a right that people have.
Exactly. Yeah, free healthcare, man. Socialism. We allowed to get political on this podcast? Socialism, man.
I'm fine with it. I don't. I know you mentioned in the past that you don't really like it, like getting political too much, but I think in some situation and it makes sense, especially when we have an episode like this where we have a doctor who cares so much more about his money.
Yeah, it's true, and it should be free healthcare should be available everywhere, and more money put into regulating it, making it the best kind that people can get, no matter where you're getting it from. That people are all trained the same with the same information. Yeah. That'd be great. That'd be great.
Oh yeah, that would be.
What did you think of Toby is playing with his dad's little like war figures. Did you like the scene where he is losing his mind? He wants to hurt the other guy, and he brings the figures to work at the stadium.
Sorry. I was thinking something else really. I was thinking something else, and I didn't get all of that. Because immediately when you were mentioning Toby, there do you notice how they were calling our main football character in this episode two different things at different points? Because sometimes he's Toby, sometimes he's named John.
Well, his name's John Toby.
Oh, okay.
He's a two first name guy.
Because I was always so confused throughout the episode about that. I was like, why are sometimes people calling him John, sometimes people calling him Toby? That's weird.
Yeah, the old two first names scenario.
What were you asking me with the figures?
So when John Toby brought his dad's little war miniatures, he was showing David them in his home at first, and then you see him like scoop up a bunch of them, bring them to the stadium, and he's like practicing the play in his mind, plotting it out how he's going to basically tackle this guy to death or something. And it's just such a menacing dramatization of him just slowly becoming less and less stable is the best word I can think of. Yeah. It felt a little bit like an old Western at points. There's like close-ups on the eyes and like a gunfight. And there's like Joby's just about to freak the fuck out on someone. I just thought it was very eerie. Some of the music was crazy. Yeah, they built some dramatic tension in this episode.
Oh yeah, that was definitely great dramatic tension in this episode. I thought that was a really interesting going to incidents with the we had those scenes with the toy soldiers in this episode, and I quite literally this same week started watching for the first time Ted Lasso, and as also and that we see all these toy soldiers in that, and I was like, oh, that's interesting that I happen to start watching that the same week as I'm watching this episode.
I
With toy
forgot about the
soldiers,
toy soldiers. I've only seen the first season of Ted Lasso. I should get back into it. It's a really good show. But I don't remember toy soldiers.
His son sent him all these toy soldiers, and he keeps giving them to different people throughout the season, the first season, and I've watched up through the first episode of the second season now. Yeah, and it's a really good show. I had trouble getting into it at first, but but as I got went on, I started really liking it.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I didn't know exactly what to expect out of the show. I was thinking Jason Sudeikis. I know what his comedy is like. This is not, but then I get into the episode of the show. I'm like, this is not the comedy I was expecting.
Yeah, he's not played a character like this before. He's essentially like a really benevolent, not malevolent Ned Flanders, and he's so just charming and adorable. And other characters he plays are usually dickheads, and he doesn't, like the horrible bosses character or the We're the Millers character is kind of a snarky dickhead.
And particularly what I mean is like. So yes, there's comedy in Ted Lasso, but it is not super in your face comedy where a loud comedy. I was expecting stuff like Horrible Bosses, Where the Millers, where it's like just balls to the wall comedy and constantly and it's nothing like that. A lot
of sex jokes and ball jokes and all sorts of stuff like that. It's like Ted Lasso is a wholesome story about a man trying to make it the best he can in a country that is not his.
I mean, there is still a lot of sex jokes in Ted Lasso, though.
It's been a while. I need to watch it again. I gotta get back to Ted Lasso. I just remember biscuits and the Believe poster and how he just does not let people get him down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else is there for this episode. It really is sad when we see he tries to apologize to this one guy that he hit the character hit in the episode that John or Toby hit in the episode and the guy just thinks he's trying to manipulate him.
Yeah, he doesn't take it at face value. John Toby is not a manipulator. He is a victim of his own rage, and he can hurt people in a contact sport. He has never hurt his wife, which I was glad it was not about an abusive husband. It was just about a guy who really doesn't know how to let out his anger properly and just happens to play a very violent sport. So those two things don't mix well.
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting thing to shine some light on of the fact that there are a lot of people in the world, myself included, who we have issues with our fathers where we can't face them because they've now passed, and so it's and I think that's a really interesting thing that they brought to light in this episode, the fact that there are people who that's the case for, and it sucks that having that problem.
It's something that people like. I also lost my father young and have many things I never got a chance to tell him. It's an interesting thing that in my life now and I've grieved for many years now. It's been about 16 years since he passed away. Now when it comes to friends in my life that have both their parents on this earth and they have some certain thing come up and put a wedge between them, I try to influence them to get past it, try to influence them and let them know that there are, people out there that never got a chance to resolve these issues, and you don't want, without saying,
I think
your parents going to die one day, because that's rude.
and
You want to remind them that, these
I
relationships
think
will,
I think that is important to do, but there's also the fact that I think for a lot of people, the reason why they didn't, and there's definitely a case for me of I didn't confront their father about these different things. Is father's scary,
Yes,
and
yeah,
they
that's true.
um being scared of your father can really destroy you or you in many ways, and it can make it so you can't you physically you can't go and say something
Paralyzed.
to him and be like yeah, paralyzed. It's like I think I've talked about it on here before when I would when um my dad was angry even up until the last few years of his life, I had trouble being able to speak up against him because immediately I would feel like that scared little child again,
Hmm.
just stuck. I can't move, I can't say anything, and um now I'm at the point where I'm like, I wish I'd said something.
Yeah.
But I understand why I didn't, because it was because that was absolutely terrifying.
100%. And there's that. That's definitely not the relationships I'd want to force anybody to
Hmm.
do anything. I definitely don't want to force people to
Hmm.
confront when there's no
I
safe
understand.
way to do it.
I'm not saying you're
Um,
wrong. Wrong for wanting to put to
it's more
suggest to
like
people
the
to
unspoken stuff that
oh
normally they would speak to each other. Like if it's a
yeah,
long history of abuse or a long history of, okay, nothing's getting through to this person, that I understand 100%. There's no
yeah,
changing them.
yeah.
But when something randomly will come up that drove this new wedge that you,
Mhm.
under normal, when you really think of the big picture, it could die off and not really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. So you want to make sure that they think about, that they may not be there forever, type of thing, and maybe
Yeah,
there's
I understand
encouragement
that.
to at least get closure on your side, and put the
Yeah,
ball in their court
it's
and have them do what they want with it.
oh yeah,
And hopefully that parent does the right thing and
yeah.
puts it to good use.
Hopefully, hopefully that's I think it's really important that you have in shows like with the Incredible Hulk that they go into things like this that are often not talked about that are a thing that happens to people.
Yeah, and it's almost a recurring theme too with that episode we saw. Was it last season, or was it also season 2, with the abusive father-son relationship, and
That
that father
yeah.
was also abused, right?
Oh that was just a couple episodes ago. And
Okay.
and yeah, it really hits hard because it's like yeah, that's a lot of the time how it ends up being that and that is
Just
like
passed on like a, yeah.
it doesn't excuse their actions,
No. No.
but it is there if that is why they are acting the way that they
Yeah.
are because it was a generational old cycle and they just haven't broken it.
Hmm. And as you hear certain phrases like hurt people. And it's like, okay, I've heard that before. I understand the message behind it. It's also very easy to take that kind of mantra and be kind of insulted by it. It's just like, okay, well, the person that's abusing me, yes, they were hurt, but does that mean it's okay to hurt me? It's like, no, of course not. What it does hopefully help to push is the idea that you can be the one to break the cycle, whether you have your own kids one day, or whether you are just a mentor to someone later in life. Acknowledge that you're hurt,
Oh
acknowledge
yeah,
that you can seek help
yeah,
for that hurt, and then probably it will dilute and get
oh
that
yeah.
cycle eradicated. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's yeah, it's just such an important thing. Like I've made a point for myself that I will though I can't control what happens from my brothers, and I hope them the best, but I've made a point for myself that I will try to break like my cycle for from the generations of abuse, and but the thing is even though I've made that be a point for me, I still don't trust myself, and that's but and because of that, I have it decided, at least currently, I may in the future change this decision, but I don't want kids because I don't want to take any chances that I could end up being like him.
There's a lot of men who come from a place where their dads were not stellar or their dads were not up to snuff in some way, and they assume that they're capable of the same things, the same mistakes. And there are ways that they are capable of that 100%, but there's so many men who, they seek the right help, they learn the right things, they read the right books, and they work on themselves, and they can break that cycle. And
Oh yeah.
yes, absolutely, your mind will change 16 times because you're very young.
Yeah.
But mine has as well, and my reason for not having children isn't about that, but I have made the decision as well not have any kids. It's more so about just a life decision and what I would like to spend my time on this planet doing. You know
Makes
what?
sense.
Campground rules comes in handy. And I heard that recently on a What If episode from from Marvel about leaving a place better than you found it. The same thing should be said about people.
Mm.
Leave a person better than you found it. And when parenting comes to mind, do everything you can to nurture that person. Don't leave them with scars that will fuck shit up. So that's it. Yeah. Campground rules, man.
You
Is it
know,
campground or campsite? You know what I'm talking about?
no, I'm not sure.
It was in an episode with the Grandmaster and Tony Stark, and he was
Oh yeah.
talking about how he can't leave the planet a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Campground rules: leave a place better than you found it.
Okay. Is there anything else we need to talk about with this episode?
Just that I didn't expect a football episode to make me so happy. This was a great, great return to form and return to formula. I do think the Alice in the Disco Land episode deals with David and his journey, especially with Jack McGee, a lot more. So I'm excited for more of that. But it was nice to see some about football for a minute.
You know, that I think I think it'll be very interesting to see in the future. That I hope there are is I think this show would really benefit from both having at least one episode where it's just David throughout the episode, and one episode where it's just Hulk for the entire episode.
Sick.
I think it would be really interesting to see how it could differ, how episodes like that could differ from the regular series.
Oh yeah, that'd be really cool. Like the way we got just Mark Ruffalo in Infinity Game or Infinity War, and then just Professor Hulk in End War.
And I think particularly for this because since we get Hulk in such small quantities in each episode, I think having an entire episode where he's just as Hulk the entire time would really give us a deeper view into how the Hulk feels.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would really benefit this show having something like that.
Plus, Lou Ferrigno would get a bigger paycheck. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Screen time.
I know that I don't know which season it is, but I know there's an episode where Lou Ferrigno actually appears in the episode both as Hulk and as another character. I think it was like a cook in a restaurant or something. And I would hope at least for that episode he got paid more since he had multiple roles.
He got paid a day's wage as a cook. That's what happened. He made food for the whole crew and cast.
Oh,
Lou.
And do you have any other notes that you wanted to get to?
Nope, that's it, man.
Uh-huh.
Great episode. Killer
Yeah.
Instinct. I'm excited to see the next one.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, yeah, be honest. I feel like this episode, without how serious it was, it probably wasn't anywhere that would have made sense for an announcer voice thing. So I'm gonna just skip
That's
past
fair.
that after
That's
this one. I
fair.
think this one was just very serious, so it would feel it would kind of feel
Cheapen it.
weird.
Yeah.
Weird for there to be any moments as we could have taken from for that. But yeah. Like the thing is, the last episode was also dealing with a serious subject, but I think, but because of the fact that it was set at disco, we were able to get insight that really worked.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. If you like this gamma analysis, please give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episodes. Please let me know. And if you'd like to listen to more from me, please subscribe. Many more gamma analysis from me coming, so keep on the lookout. This again is your host, Smash Cherry John, signing off.